Hi guys, welcome back to my math YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about another example where we have to solve for a triangle. And guys, keep in mind, we are looking at these oblique triangles which are different than a 90-degree or a right angle triangle. So in this case example, we have a triangle ABC where the three sides of the triangle are provided, but none of the three angles are provided to us. So guys, our goal is to solve for or find all the three missing angles. So I already kind of have set it up, and now from here guys, the first thing that I like to do is I like to start with the sine law, because sine law is a little more little less complicated than the cosine law. So let us set up the sine law and see if we can use the sine law to solve for the missing angles. Guys, keep in mind, if we cannot use the sine law, then one has to use the other law, which is going to be the cosine law. So let us set up the sine law. Guys, using the sine law, I'm going to start by writing sine of angle A and over the length A. That is equal to the sine of angle B over the length B, which is equal to sine of angle C over the length C. So now let us fill in the information that is already provided to us. Sine of, well, we don't know any of the angles, so I just have to write sine A, sine B, and sine C because we don't know any of the values for the angles. And then in the denominators, we have all the lengths of the three sides. Sine A over, so this is going to be my A, this is going to be my C, and this is going to be my side B. So A is 12. Guys, it always helps if we label these sides. It becomes easier for us to, when we are actually solving or doing the math, and then we can go back and quickly substitute the values. Then B is 14 and the value for C is 20. But guys, now let us look at these three ratios. Of course, we have to take two at a time to solve for missing variables, but again, if we take any two at a time, it does not matter whether you take first two, second two, or first and third. Guys, we can see that there are two variables, and in just one equation, there is no way we can solve for two variables using just one equation. So what does that mean? It means that sine law cannot actually help us to solve for the missing angles. So guys, although we tried using the sine law because sine law is easier and simpler to work with, but in this case, it does not work. So guys, if sine law does not work, then we got to just move on and we got to try something different. And in this case, that something different is going to be, we got to try the cosine law. So I'm going to get rid of this, and then we're going to try the cosine law. Okay. So let me get rid of this. We can see that the sine law does not work. So now let us try the cosine law. So guys, using the cosine law, it's up to you which one you want to start with, because there's three ways or three forms of a cosine law. So let us start with one of the forms, and I'm going to be consistent with what I have in my notes. So I started with this one, a square being equal to b square plus c square minus 2bc, and cosine of a, right? It is always the included angle between these two sides. With b and c, the included angle is a. So once I write it out, then from there, guys, I'm going to substitute the values, and from there I would be able to see whether I have all the values substituted. I have all the values except for one variable, and then we can solve for that one particular variable. Okay, so I have all the three sides, so let us substitute the values. So it's going to be 12 square equals to b square. B is 14 square, and then I have c square, which is 20 square, and then minus 2 times b times which is 14 times 20 times, then I have cosine of a. So guys, I have all the terms except for, I know the values for all the terms except for the angle A, so we can solve for that one variable. So guys, here we got to simplify things carefully. It's not too difficult, but you just have to simplify things carefully. So guys, I simplified this using my calculator. This is 144, then 14 squared is 196, this was 400, and then I simplified this as well. I got 560, and then finally I have my cosine of a. So guys, then moving on, this is 144, so I first added these two. So what I got 596, and then there's a minus 560, cosine of a. Guys, we cannot subtract these two because this is multiplied to cosine a. These are connected together, so we cannot just subtract 596 minus that. So you got to leave this term alone. So we leave this term alone. So what we do is we try to isolate this term. To isolate this term, guys, we have to just subtract 596 from both sides. So by subtracting 596 from both sides, so let me take it up. Well, we can do it right here. From here, guys, when we simplify this, what do I get? I get a negative 452 equals to, well, this does not change. It is still negative 560 times cosine of a. Right, that's what I have on the right hand side, and on the left, because this is going to cross out. So I have 144 minus 596 is negative 452. and then I have negative 560 cosine A on the right hand side. Now in order to find the angle A, first of all we have to divide both sides by negative 560 so that we can isolate the cosine of A. So you divide by that, this crosses out, and you simplify this, and finally you get cosine of A equals to, so I used my calculator to divide this, and I went up to 4 places of decimal. Guys, I got 0.8071. Guys, if you are watching this video, you should have a calculator handy, and you should be actually doing these steps as I am working on these steps. So from here, guys, cosine of A is positive 0.8071. Again, we know that cosine can have values between -1 and +1, and 0.8071 is perfectly between that, in that range. So for using the inverse key on my calculator, finally using the cosine inverse of that, what do I get? I get 36.18. So I went up to 2 places. So that is the value for my angle, measure of angle A. So one of the angles is done, so I can just write it out, 36.18. Guys, I still have to figure out the other two. So to find the other two, it's up to you whether you want to start finding the angle C or B. Here I have angle B, so I'm going to do the work for angle B. Guys, you can also find angle C, and then from those two angles you can find the other missing angle, the third one. So I did the B. For B, guys, I have to obviously use this formula, B square equals to A square plus C square minus 2AC cosine of B. So if I'm trying to find the angle B, so obviously I have to use a formula that includes that angle B, and this is the formula. This is one of the forms of a cosine formula where angle B is included, okay? Again, I substituted the values, and then I'm going to do the similar type of a process to get the value for B. But I'm going to write all the steps. So guys, I have B square, which is 14 square on the left hand side, and on the right hand side I have A square, which is 12 square, plus C square, which is 20 square, minus 2 times A times C, which is 2 times 12 times 20 times cosine of angle B. Guys, again, simplifying exactly the way we did here. 14 square, 196. I like to do it in steps. This is 144 plus 400. And then, guys, when we multiply this, I got a 480. And then I have a cosine of B multiplied with this. Guys, you got to leave this alone. You got to isolate this. So you got to first add this and then subtract it from both sides. So what I did was 196 here, and I added these two. I get 544 minus 480 cosine of B. And then I subtracted 544 from both sides because I want to isolate this term with the cosine. This crosses out, and when I subtract this, what do I get? I get a negative 348 on the left hand side, and on the right hand side I have negative 480 times cosine of B. Okay, the math is exactly similar to what we did when we were finding the value for angle A. So from here, to get cosine B by itself, first I have to divide both sides by negative 480. So when I divide both sides by negative 480, this crosses out, and finally I get cosine of B equals to, again, when I divided this using my calculator, okay, I got 0.725. So from here, I had to use the inverse key in my calculator to find the value for the angle B, or measure of angle B. And guys, this is what I got. I got 43.53, 2 places of decimals. So guys, I have my value for B, I have my value for A. All I need now is the value for measure of angle C. So let me first fill in the value for B, which is 43.53. So guys, we know the sum of the 3 angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So we can subtract the sum of these 2 angles from 180, and we'll get the measure of angle C. And that's exactly how I did it in my notes as well. Guys, the other way of finding the angle C is basically just using the third form of writing the cosine form and doing all the math. But guys, that is going to take us a lot of time, and that's going to be a lot of extra steps. So rather than doing that, guys, it's easier to just simply find the measure of angle C by doing 180 minus the sum of the other two, 36.18 plus 43.53. And when you simplify this, what we get is 100.29. So that is the measure of angle C. So we were able to figure out all the 3 angles given the 3 sides. But guys, keep in mind, the sine law does not help us to do that. We have to use the cosine law. So in fact, there are 2 special cases where sine law actually does not work. I showed you one of them in my previous video, and this one is where we have 3 sides, the SSS form, right? In this form, one has to use the cosine law. the sine law does not work for SSS, and then the other one we did in my previous video. Okay, so guys, keep practicing these problems. I think that brings me to an end here with the sine and the cosine law. Or I think I want to show you this one more example that I want to show you, and then we are going to kind of bring in together like the cases where sine law works and the cases where the cosine law works. Okay, that's going to be my last video for this, and guys, then we're going to move into some different sections. Till then, guys, take care. I will see you next time.